Now we're going to ask. It's a custom in our part of the world, in the world of the British Empire and what followed from it, that when a soldier falls, a lament is played. A lament is a sad piece of music played on the bagpipe. So, Piper Hope, may we ask you to play. Let things get a bit out of order. I always thought it would be nice to have a poem of Kipling's, because Kipling was the poet who was the most famous poet in the English world at that time, and everybody remembers him as an imperialist poet. But he never became, even though he won the Nobel Prize, he was never the poet laureate of England, because he wrote such rude poems about Queen Victoria and how she treated her soldiers. This is the one that Auntie Marge told me a couple of days ago that I should read, though, because this was our grandfather's favorite poem. And you have to think about this. Imagine this man and his wife, who'd been in Burma, who'd been in India, who'd been in the Caribbean, who had learned to defend themselves with guns, and he had risen to the very top of the non-commissioned officers' ranks of the British Army, which was no small thing. Imagine they decide to go to New Zealand, and they arrive in Canada, and they settle themselves out in the Slocan Valley, and things start to go bad. The winters are cold. They end up living in a barn, sleeping in the straw. He's building a house. He's never built anything in his life before. Time goes on. He's injured when a horse kicks him in the heart. Granny gets pregnant, and I can imagine when I read this, them sitting in the barn, a cold October evening, the snow coming down, the kids in bed but with terrible colds, Granny complaining about the fact that, damn it, she's pregnant again, and he reaches for his 1892 edition of Kipling's Barrack Reuben Barracks, which I actually have in the back there, and he pulls out this and he begins to read it. Now this poem is politically incorrect. This poem is racist, imperialist, anti-feminist, bad for your cholesterol and many other things. But it gives us a sense of what life was like when he lived. You know, when he died in 1926, that was the year that the British Privy Council overturned a decision by the Canadian Supreme Court and the British Privy Council ruled that in Canada, a woman is a person. Up to that point, a woman was the property of her father or her husband. He died the year that happened. So if he's not quite politically correct, you'll have to forgive him, because of course he lived in the past, and as some wise man once said, the past is another country, they do things differently there. So this is the road past Mandalay. In the old Moon Pagoda, looking lazy at the sea, there's a Burma gal a-settin', and I know she thinks of me. And the wind is in the palm trees, and the temple bells they say, come back you British soldier, come you back to Mandalay. Come you back to Mandalay, where the old flotilla lay. Can't you hear their paddles chunkin' from Mangoon to Mandalay? On the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder out of China across the bay. Well, her petticoat was yeller, and her little hat was green, and her name was Supiyalek, just the same as Theba's queen. And I seen her first a-smokin' on a whacking white cheroot, and a-wastin' Christian kisses on a heathen idol's foot. Bloomin' idol made of mud, what they called the great god Bud. Plucky lot she cared for idols when I kissed her where she stood on the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play. When the mist was in the rice fields and the sun was drooping low, she'd get out her little banjo, and she'd sing Kalula low, with her arm against my shoulder and her cheek against my cheek. And we used to watch the steamers and the hathies pilin' teaks, elephants a pilin' teak in the sludgy, squudgy creek, where the silence hung so heavy you were half afraid to speak on the road to Mandalay. Well, that is all behind me, long ago and far away, and there ain't no buses leaving from the bank to Mandalay. And I'm learning here in London what the 10-year soldier tells: when you've heard the East a-calling, you won't ever hear not else. No, you won't hear nothing else but them spicy garlic smells and the sunshine and the palm trees and the tinkly temple bells on the road to Mandalay. Ship me somewhere east of Suez, where the best is like the worst, and there ain't no 10 commandments, and a man can raise a thirst. For the temple bells are calling, and it's there that I would be, by the old Moon Pagoda, looking east, lazy at the sea, on the road to Mandalay, where the old flotillas lay, with our sick beneath the awnings, as we went to Mandalay, on the road to Mandalay, where the flying fishes play, and the dawn comes up like thunder out of China across the bay. It must have seemed a magical time as they sat and looked out of their barn at the snow coming down into the Slocan Bloody Valley. Yeah, the Slocan Valley. Us Malloys are no good for this sort of thing. We don't mind facing machine guns, but facing crowds are different. Okay, now, I think if Kathleen would bring forward the flowers. The story is that Marge told us, and that Mum told us, that although there was no marker on his grave, for the last years that they were in Nelson, Auntie Marge and our Granny Toddy used to come on the weekend, and since they couldn't afford flowers, they would gather wild buttercups and daisies, and they would put them on the grave. So this morning Kathleen gathered buttercups and daisies, and I'd like everyone to come and take one. We're hoping there's enough. And if you just place them on the flower, on the stone, we will leave them.
There's two there. There you go. Here's for you. There you go.
Careful, Kai.
Okay, bud? There you go. Here, you can have one too. It's for you. Oh, we'll get it for him. He might still.
They usually come in and put stairs in.
It's a little. Okay. Okay, well you don't have to, but it's not. It looks like it hurt.
You're all out of order.
That's whatever.
What will we do next?
We're going to have Judy, and then we're going to have the toast.
Okay.
We just couldn't over there. Just one last week. There's been nothing. I found him when I was here last night.
Oh, I think the balloon was calling on my dad. No, proud is my line.
Let's get.